Hello, welcome to Creating with Kate. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to make art using plastic grocery bags, or more specifically, how to do plastic bag printing. Let's get started. First, collect your materials. You're going to need plastic bags and acrylic paint or craft paint in varying colors, heavyweight paper like cardstock or painting paper, something to cut with, things to paint with, and a brayer. This one's optional. To get started, lay out your plastic bag so it's nice and flat. Take your scissors and then start cutting it into small pieces. You want your pieces not to be larger than the paper that you're going to be printing on, but you want them also to be small enough that they're easy to handle as you're laying out your paint. As I was collecting bags to use for this project, I noticed that different bags have different weights. So experiment with the different bags that you're using to see what effects you can make with the different weights of bags. Next, lay out something to protect your workspace, like an old tablecloth or a plastic drop cloth. And you're ready to get started. Once you determine what is the color scheme that you're going to want to use, squirt a little bit of your paint onto a paint palette and then start applying it to the plastic bag. Here's where it's fun to make patterns or do groupings of colors that you're going to later press onto your paper. As you apply your paint to the plastic, you're going to want to have a good coat of the paint, but not too much because then it will just smoosh everywhere and make a mess. So if you want to maintain your patterns, you're going to want to make sure you have not too much, but not too little. So once you have it just as you like it, get a clean piece of paper and then carefully place your plastic with the paint on top of the paper. Here you could use your hands to spread it, or you could use a brayer to wheel it out. Once you're pretty sure you've got all your paint transferred onto your paper, peel back the layer of plastic and see what you've made. If you want to put more paint on there, then you could use that same piece of plastic, or if you're changing colors, get a new piece of plastic to do an additional print. At this point, my helper and I were keeping in the same color palette, so we kept with the same piece of plastic and just reapplied the paint. Trying to mix in some colors, I was trying to go with like splashes of red and gold and white to see if they would transfer onto the paper if we did an additional print. These first applications of color to the paper is the first step. It's laying down the first layer of paint. Abstract prints are most beautiful when they have many layers of colors and patterns to give it visual diversity. If you want the colors to be blended together, then lay the prints while the paint is still wet, and then the paint will all swirl together. If you want more definition in your patterns, then make a foundation of color and then let that dry, and then you'll go back in and reapply colors later. The wonderful thing about abstract art is that there really is no wrong way to do it. Feel free to experiment, play around with what kind of brushes you use. Are you going to use a big brush or a small brush, a sponge? And the colors, are you going to put them all together with blobs of other colors mixed in? Or how are you going to use it? And how much paint do you need for the first press? And can you get a second press out of it? Just experiment and play away. So keep layering on the colors and changing up the angles and the patterns that you're using until you feel like you've really got a good foundation of colors. Once I felt like I had good coverage on all my papers, I let that base layer dry fully. Then I went back in to add smaller, more defined layers with little pops of color. For these secondary layers, the process is about the same as for the larger coverage. Put your paint on the plastic and get ready to press it onto your paper. But when you're going for some more definition with your prints, experiment with different methods. I scraped away some of the paint with the back end of my brush, or I used my hand to press on the paint versus using the brayer. Or change the direction that you lay the plastic down as you make additional prints. So continue on using the same process and experiment. Play around using different colors, different weights of plastic, different pressure as you transfer the paint to the paper. Keep layering on the textures and the colors, and when you feel like you have enough, just stop. Once you're done, step back and appreciate the work that you just made. Each one a unique, individual work of art. Let them dry flat, and you can leave them as is and call them complete. Or you could use them and make them into additional artwork. Like what, you ask? Trim up your favorite parts and turn them into cards. As we're coming up on December, my mind has been turning towards the holidays, and I thought it would be fun to make some cards to send off to the people that I won't be seeing this year. So when I was picking my color scheme for this printmaking project, I chose those with the Christmas theme. And then I took out my favorite parts and reassembled them into these cards. Another idea is to take your prints and to make your own colorful gift tags. The possibilities and ways to use your prints are endless. And to think, all this started with an ordinary grocery bag. I hope you feel inspired to get creative and try new things. Thanks for watching. See you next time.